So what did you make of Nicole Kidman's new movie?
Interestingly enough, listening to that interview, it in many ways summed up both the things I like about the film and my problems with it. The constant repeated use of phrases like "I was in a place of," "I went to a place of," "I was in that place." I frankly find that stuff very hard to deal with. As do I find hard to deal with tales of actors talking about making films and then people hugging them and wanting to be with them and touch them.
You're just a bloke.
No. The cynic. Well, it's not. I don't just know that it's just to do with being a bloke. I think the cynic in me hears that sort of stuff and brings down walls almost immediately. Now, in the case of Rabbit Hole, there are two things which are conflicting. On the one hand, there is the part of me that has no tolerance for any sentimentality at all. Although, actually, to be honest, Rabbit Hole is pretty free of rank sentimentality. And largely, I think it is because of Aaron Eckhart. I think Aaron Eckhart is a really fine screen presence. And although the attention has been on the fact that Nicole Kidman has been Oscar nominated for it, in a way you can kind of understand her being nominated because her performance is much more an awards-courting performance. It's his edginess, his, to some extent, lack of emotion, his desire to get on with things and to move ahead, which I found the part of the movie that grounded it for me. Diane Weiss is absolutely brilliant as well in that clip that you played. Lovely done, because actually there is a very good tension, a frisson between the two characters there. So all the time I was watching it, I was worried that it was going to fall into that, into that kind of touchy-feely, loving, emotional, move on, do something, be saccharine sweet, make some sort of trite, grandiloquent gesture about tragedy. Obviously, the film will cast back to other films like In the Sun's Room, in which you're dealing with similar issues, and it's very, very difficult. It is very difficult to deal with that in a manner which isn't mawkish, which I don't think this is, in a manner which is honest and sincere, which I do think this is, but in a manner which doesn't at any point flirt with pathos in a way that I find very difficult. And I have to say that for most of the film, I didn't think that was the case. It was somewhat too hermetically sealed for me. It wasn't raw enough around the edges, perhaps. And I did have a problem with the subplot, which you didn't just talk about in that interview, which is that as the tragedy is revealed, she develops a relationship with a local sort of, soon-to-be college kid that's tied into the tragedy. And I have to say, I found that problematic. I found that to be much more a schematic piece of writing. The bits of it that worked well were the portrayal of a couple at odds and how to move on beyond an insurmountable tragedy and the different ways in which they were both dealing with it. And in fact, in all those scenes, I thought this is really good, this is sincere, and I get it. There are other things about it that I think are contrivances and therefore seem more like a stage play, which obviously it does come from a stage play. And there is a certain level of just slightly too shiny encapsulation. I wanted more rough edges to it. But I thought, in the end, it didn't fall into many of the traps that it could have done. I also quite like the fact that, Rabbit Hole and the sort of the suggestion of Alice and, the sort of tipping over into Fairy and the connection with comic books, which it alludes towards, but doesn't, move any further than that. So actually, generally 6.5, 7 out of 10, and I must say I went in being worried about it being a lot less good than that.